Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our stock market update. It is Friday, August 27th. My name is Mark Hodge, head coach at Rockwell Trading, and we're going to cover what's moving the markets and what you should know about today's trading in the next 15 minutes or less. So let's first take a look at what happened yesterday. Here I have a chart of the S&P 500, and S&P 500 pulling back from recent highs after setting new records for a couple of days. Finally, a bit of a pullback. S&P and NASDAQ snapped a 5-day win streak. S&P down 0.6% yesterday. The Dow pulling back as well, down about 0.5%, losing 192 points. And the NASDAQ also down. And I should probably show my charts. Let's go ahead and jump over here. There we go. So S&P, one more time. S&P pulling back from record highs. The Dow not quite at the records that were set in early August, and the NASDAQ also retreating from record highs. So a little bit of a pullback yesterday. We've been talking about it all week. This week's focus is on the Jackson Hole Symposium. Central bankers, they are meeting remotely, and today is the big day. At least for U.S. stocks, because we have Fed Chair Jerome Powell, not Bernanke, but Jerome Powell, speaking at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So the key thing here is, will the Fed Chair Powell start talking about interest rates? Will he share more concerns about inflation, or is it just transitory? And one of the key things that many investors and traders are looking at is bond tapering. So the Fed is spending $120 billion monthly in bond purchases to provide stimulus. And there's been a lot of discussion on whether or not that needs to be cut back soon, or sooner than later, let's say. And the bond buybacks tapering or cutback is expected soon. And there's been some dissent in the Fed. Some Fed members feel that they should be doing it sooner. And so that's kind of, I believe, what's going to be the real focus. Will Fed Chair Powell hint at bond tapering and say that with stocks at record highs and with the economic data that we see, in spite of the Delta variant and concerns with COVID cases, will that information be enough to say that now's the time? And will Powell announce that today and hint at it, or will he save it for a future Fed policy meeting? We'll see. We'll see. But that's why the speech today and the event, the 3-day event, the Jackson Hole Symposium with central bankers, because all around the world, central bankers have provided stimulus for helping their economies with the pandemic. And we'll see if now's the time to start making some changes. So futures right now, anyway, if we look at the E-mini S&P, we could look at a 5-minute chart here. Let me reset the chart so it's a little easier to read. We see there was a little bit of movement, but kind of choppy going into the open, up about 0.25%. The mini Dow, same situation. The NASDAQ leading the futures right now. So the NASDAQ futures up about 0.4%. So leading the way. Looks like we're setting up for a slightly higher start. Not quite erasing all of yesterday's losses, but making a decent move higher as we approach the open. Let's look at some movers here. And there were a few earnings to note. Let's look at Gap here. The ticker is GPS. So Gap is up just under, let me get this out of the way. Gap is up just under 7% pre-market. They had a nice earnings beat. They reported 70 cents per share versus a 46-cent estimate. They also reported better revenue, and the company raised its full-year guidance. So Gap, after kind of chopping around through July and into August, making some lows here, looks like we're trading right around 28 bucks, which is just over a 6% gain, almost 7% pre-market. So nice movement with Gap pre-market. Let's look at another earnings mover, Peloton. PTON is the ticker. And Peloton actually making up some ground here. When I last looked at this, Peloton was down 7% pre-market. Now it looks like it's 2.5%. So it looks like investors and traders not as concerned as they once were. Now down almost 2% here. So much better than the 7% that they were down earlier. Their earnings were a little shaky here. The company lost $1.05 per share. This was versus a 45-cent estimate. And they also said that subscriptions were lower, which is, a huge revenue driver for them, and that the company warned that they won't hit revenue targets for the current quarter. So that put in a damper on, some of this move and bounce off of these lows that we saw back in May. And it looks like down about 2% now pre-market. Also in an SEC filing, it did show that documents had been subpoenaed by the U.S. government related to injuries that occurred with their products. And that was one of the key things here that sent the stock lower after this really nice pandemic run up, making these pandemic highs and then pulling back after some injury concerns and even a death related to their treadmill. So Peloton really now down less than 2% pre-market. So it looks like investors are shaking off that news, even though earnings weren't too hot for that one. Let's look at a few more here. Let's look at Big Lots. There we go. Big Lots getting hammered big time pre-market, looking at 46.77, down almost 14% here, trading back at lows not seen since January this year. So Big Lots getting hammered with earnings. What's going on here? Well, the company reported $1.09 per share versus a $1.12 estimate. But they announced that comparable store sales fell 13.2%, which was much more than expected. And that was really due to the company dealing with supply chain issues and also inflation pressure. So looks like there could be some concerns dealing with supply issues and also just rising costs. And that's not helping Big Lots. Big Lots tumbling pre-market, down 14%. This comes after a 6% slide yesterday. So about 20% lower right now based on where we might open and including yesterday's gain in just 2 days. So Big Lots getting hammered. Let's look at a few more. HPQ, HP Inc. HP also taking a bit of a earnings hit here, down 4.6% pre-market. So trading down in this lower part of this range here, HPQ. So they reported earnings of $1 a share versus an 84-cent estimate. So better than expected earnings per share, but their revenue came in lower than expected. They did say that they're selling everything it can make, but the chip shortage hurt their ability to meet customer demand. So chip shortage, that worldwide chip shortage that we know has been an issue with other companies that use chips, having an impact on HP's ability to meet consumer demand. And this one's tumbling a little bit pre-market, down just under 5%. Similar space here. Let's look at Dell. Dell down a little bit pre-market, not as bad, down 2% pre-market, pulling back from these recent highs here. So Dell, they reported $2.24 a share versus a $2.03 estimate. They had better revenue and said that they are dealing successfully with supply chain issues. So addressing that there are supply chain concerns, but they feel confident in their ability to deal with them. But nonetheless, in spite of a small earnings beat and better revenue, Dell taking a bit of a hit, down 2% pre-market. Dell looking a lot better overall compared to HP, though. If we look at this chart, we see that Dell's making some highs here, flirting with these highs, pulling back into this upper range. If you look at HPQ, whole nother story, pulling back from these highs set in April, maybe May, and now trading down at these lower levels. Two more earnings, Workday, WDAY. So Workday, they're a big up 8% pre-market, not quite at these record highs, but Workday just huge jump pre-market, over 8% higher. Workday reported $1.23 earnings per share and better revenue. Their subscription revenue was up 23% from a year ago, and traders seem to be liking that. So up almost 8% pre-market as we get closer to the open. One more. Hibbett Sports, HIBB. Wow, they actually gave back a lot of the pre-market gains that I saw earlier. Looked like this one was up 6% pre-market, now down 1%. So a change there in pre-market activity. That's why you could never really fully count on the pre-market movement. You want to focus on what's actually going on in the trading session. But this one, they doubled their earnings last quarter with $2.86 per share versus a $1.44 estimate. They also raised their full year guidance. This one seems to be all over the place, up 6% when I first looked, down 1% when we just pulled it up, and now flat again. So traders trying to figure out what the heck to do with this one. But good earnings from Hibbett, if that's how you pronounce this one. I'm not too familiar with this one as a sporting goods chain. Let's look at Tesla. Now, this is interesting. I don't think it's moving Tesla. Tesla up just under 1% pre-market, and so that's nothing for Tesla. Tesla can move all over the place. But I saw that is Tesla going to solve Texas's energy problem? Tesla has filed an application with the Texas Public Utility Commission to sell electricity directly to consumers. The filing doesn't lay out specifics, but it would create a new subsidiary for the company called Tesla Energy Ventures. And for many of you, either in Texas or outside of Texas, and having some sympathy for the state, there were some huge issues with energy with the deep freeze that occurred last year that just really caused some chaos in Texas, and not having energy to heat houses. It was just a mess. And so there was scrutiny for how Texas has energy privatized. Maybe Tesla's going to be making some moves. We'll see. Anyway, it doesn't seem to be affecting Tesla right now. Tesla up a little bit pre-market, but I thought that was interesting. So anyway, that's going to do it for today's stock market update. It could be a very interesting day. Keep an eye on the 10 o'clock, 10 Eastern speech by Powell. That could be a mover here, and we'll see if he has an impact on things today, but it is what traders have been waiting for all week long. We're going to wrap things up today. Have a great trading day, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody, and happy trading.